everyone, and welcome to PHAMCAST. I'm Margaret Wallace-Duffy, your host and the visionary behind Preventative Health Awareness Month and movement recognized by Health Canada. And you know, this is my favorite place to be, at this table, ready to have conversations, soulful, engaging, and educational conversations with ambassadors, people that care about this mission and people who are committed to this preventative health movement. And today, it's a really special day because today I get to welcome in studio not one, but two ambassadors from our nation's capital. You heard it, from Ottawa. They are some of our newest ambassadors. And who's a ambassador? They're healthcare professionals, organizations, people that believe in changing the legacy of healthcare from this reactionary, wait till it's broken, sick care model to one that's more preventative, proactive, and patient empowered. This is the fourth year of Preventative Health Awareness Movement, and I gotta tell you, it's taking on a life of its own. As the founder, I'm humbled and overwhelmed to see the growth that has happened in 4 years. Now over 83 healthcare professionals and climbing every day. Organizations that are putting their hand up and saying, how do I help? And these two women at my table today actually are inspired to lead the launch event in Ottawa on February the 2nd called Stronger Through Midlife. We're even raising a FAM flag where it's a symbol of we are rolling up our sleeves and municipalities are joining us to empower everyday people to become the CEO of your health. So it's with my great pleasure to introduce my new friends, ambassadors, and rock star leaders. Tatianna Graham, who is a physiotherapist, a mom, and happened to run the Boston Marathon. Let's just give her a cheers for that. Renee, who is also a ambassador, a yoga instructor, works in the corporate world, is a mother of 2 children, and is an absolute super connector. We are here today with Tatianna, and this event is happening at the Hub 350 in Ottawa because of you, Renee. So thank you both for driving from Ottawa to come in studio with me today. So excited.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here.
Thanks, Mark.
You know, we share stories at this table because that's how people learn, grow, and connect. And that's what being part of the family, PHAMILY, is all about. So I think it's really important that we first talk about your stories. Like, we're here to talk about real people, prevention, and why it's important to you. So Renee, why don't you start by talking about, what brought you here? Why are you here, and tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So preventative health for me is to be just that, preventative with my health. I'm really grateful that I have education on where I've come from and what my family history looks like. On both sides of the family, there's a lot of heart health issues.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cancer. We've got breast cancer, ovarian cancer, thyroid, prostate, and probably missing skin cancer on both sides of the family. And so knowing what's existing in me and in my family lineage, it's helped me to become part of the high-risk breast cancer program. I'm lucky that I don't have that. But in Ottawa, I'm part of the high-risk program with annual mammograms, MRIs, ultrasounds to look at that from a preventative perspective. And then I'm also navigating some really cool heart testing because I discovered last July that I had something going on with my heart. So that, I would say, was a little bit of a wake-up call to change the way that I look at my own prevention and to share the message on how I found out about it with others as well.
And we're going to get back to that heart thing because it's a really cool story, and talk about empowerment at its best. You really took control and being vulnerable and sharing it with others. And it's really important that I say that. People coming to this table and sharing their stories, they're being vulnerable and courageous. But how do we create change if we don't have these conversations? And you're right, you have your history, but your history and your genes don't have to define your outcomes. You get in the driver's seat of your health. And so we're going to dive in a little bit more about how you found out about these heart issues. But let's talk to you, Tatianna, about your journey and why you're here. And, and as both a mom and also a physiotherapist, there's a lot of resistance, hasn't there been, in healthcare about prevention? We literally wait till somebody has something wrong and then we try to fix it.
Yeah, so my story is a little bit opposite of Renee's, where I don't have a lot of that family history. I had a relatively, even childhood, and then as I entered university and started to get aches and pains myself and was told by a doctor that you have to pay attention to your running shoes. You're getting old. I was 22.
Oh my goodness.
But it saved me because I discovered through that I had bilateral tibia fractures from running in old runners, but it led me to find a physiotherapist. And that's when I was like, that's such a cool job. And then like the story goes on from there.
Hence your career as a physiotherapist.
Hence my career,
Very
but
cool.
What I love about this is that back then I feared aging. I really did because of that comment, and then I had really flat feet, so I had to have orthotics, this and that. But then as I am a physical therapist, but I also did my yoga teacher training and really dove into sort of looking at a person, myself included, as a holistic, right? Like I loved physio school, and I love obviously our medical system, and we need our doctors and all that, but like we have discussed, it's not alternative health, it's complementary.
Yes.
And really diving into my own yoga practice and learning more how to tune in and coming from all these different angles, emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, and bringing it together. That's what I find is really, truly preventative health.
Oh my goodness. I love so much about what you're both saying, and one of the things that really resonated with what you just said, and I'm sure many of you at home are listening and hearing this, you were fearing aging.
Yeah.
Aging is a privilege.
It is.
And it's, many don't get that. And yeah, our bodies change and they morph. We do, though, can have some control, but it starts here in the way we think about things, in our limiting beliefs, in our subconscious minds, in our upbringing, in our patterns. And it's really neat. Thanks for sharing that so openly, because I think it gives other people permission also to speak their truth about what they might be fearing or what they might be thinking, because we don't really want to know what's wrong, because then what do we do? But it's in that body awareness. It's in that getting quiet and listening to the whispers in our body, like you did. And similar, those that have listened and watched my story, my career has been a launch pad because of my own health story. That's many of us. That's how we often get into things that we're doing. And so that led you to physio school and now at this table. Thanks both for sharing that, because two very different experiences, but two important aspects and mindsets of what we need to bring to this new preventative health movement. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Renee, we met through, of course, personal development. You hear me talk about this all the time. We always need to grow, and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, and you got to do your own work. And even as a healthcare professional or a mom, if we're not doing our work, we can't help others. And so I've always loved personal development and growth, and I ended up meeting you through a call with regards to a personal development. What struck me, Renee, about that call, I was doing a bit of a presentation. I was not a presentation, but I was speaking on this call, and you were a participant on the call. Your passion and your tenaciousness and your energy, not only in the call, but what she ended up doing, like right away in the chat, was like echoing some of the comments and giving her perspective, which I love, because we need to challenge each other's perspectives, don't we?
We do.
We need to have the conversation. Well, what do you think? Oh, I didn't think of that way, or oh, maybe I disagree. But then what really shook me and I thought was so cool, because it's so the way I love to roll, is that when it was all done, it's 10 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, I think,
yeah.
And Renee is texting me saying, that was a fantastic call, thank you so much. And I'd love to connect one time. And I'm crazy enough, I said, well, what about right now? And you said, sure.
Yeah.
Why on that call, what resonated with, not me, but with the message, about preventative health, in terms of you wanting to now be a FAMCAST and to start really diving in and getting to know one another?
Yeah. You just inspired me so much, and I thought, this woman is taking action, and that's what I want to do. I feel like we grew up in a world that so often our mothers and our grandmothers and generations before us didn't talk about what was going on. They just smiled and they said, I'm okay, I'm fine, and they actually weren't.
Yes.
And I've just in the last few years decided it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
And I love connecting with people. And when I saw your energy, I'm like, I want to be a part of this woman's world. I love what you were doing. And so that's kind of how I roll too, to say, all right, let's talk now. Why not, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And you really are a super connector, because that was really only was it a year ago?
I think so.
I think it was only a year ago. And then we got talking about, what you do for a living, what I do for a living. And we had just recently, with my partnership with OsteoSound, had brought this new REMS bone scan to Canada. And we were coming to Ottawa to do a bone scan. Well, of course, who comes? But Renee. She's going to look at her bones preventatively. Kudos. You're walking the walk and talking the talk. Can you just really briefly tell me, as a mama, we're going to talk about all kinds of things, but right now as a mom, what does that mean to you to be leading and doing these things? Yes, for yourself, but you just talked about our mother's generations, just putting on a brave face and not talking about it. And then us being left with not everybody, I think the majority was like that. I was very lucky. My mother was very open with a lot of things, but most people aren't. What is it like for you with your kids? Does that matter to you? Like, how you're sharing and what you're sharing?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I think my mom was really great. Like she
I'm
did
not
share
putting your mama down. If mama's watching, that's not what I meant. No, for sure.
No. And I think my mom did share, but she didn't share everything. And I respect her privacy, and I learned more, I think, as I got older. And we may have been too young to maybe digest or understand what was going on.
Totally.
When our moms were the same age that I am now. And what I want my kids to know is sometimes it's not okay, but I want them to see what it means to be resilient, right? To always be showing up and to connect yourself with people when you don't have the right answers. And I'm an overshare. Oftentimes, my kids will say that as well. But sometimes it's to say, who do you know that I should know? Or, hey, I've got somebody that I think you should know, because we're stronger together. And that's, the name of our event that we're hosting in Ottawa is Stronger Through Midlife.
Right.
Because we are stronger, whether it's through mental health, physical health, spiritual, emotional. And I think, as a mom, what I want to show my kids is that, we need to stay connected. We need to stay talking to each other. We need to continually grow and learn and evolve, and not stay stuck in the same patterns of the past.
Yeah.
And continue to rewrite what the future looks like.
Yes, and I think our mothers, whether they shared or they didn't share, they showed the resilience because they weren't even asked to how they were feeling, right? They had to just buck up and do the things, which I respect immensely. But I think we're at a pivotal time and it's changing. There's a real sense of people wanting things to change and for us to be more a part of that journey. And it's intergenerational. And that's what this family movement is about. It's intergenerational. The ones behind us, the ones ahead of us, for us to all come together to take ownership and to learn and grow from one another. So that's really cool. And yeah, I often get told I'm an oversharer too, but what it's done for me, not only through my career, but it's really helped me learn and grow and helped others give permission to not be okay and to ask for help. So prevention for you, you're a marathon runner. You had an injury and you actually went to the Boston Marathon. Like, I have kudos to that. Like, that takes the mental stamina to do that, let alone the physical. And you're a mama. It's remarkable. And it's a huge, your kids must look at that and think, or maybe they're too young yet to, but it's got to be a really cool feeling. As a mom, what's the role of prevention in your family?
I love that you brought up my kids, because my son, who at the time was 6, my oldest made me a bracelet and it was Mom, M-O-M, to run with, but he read it upside down and he's like, did you know Mom upside down is wow? Like, wow, I ran a race. Wow, I ran in Boston. And I was like, that's so cool. Mom upside down is wow.
You know what? It's so funny you're bringing that. Years ago when I had Wallace for Wellness in my clinic, Wallace on Wellness is wow. And we always wanted to create the wow factor, empowering people, but turned the other way as mom, and I'm internationally certified with infants. So I used to use that all the time. It's so neat that you're bringing that. I love that your child brought that up, because it's really neat. They're invested in it, and you're so impressed by what you're doing. So you're leading by example.
Yeah, it means prioritizing me. And I know a lot of moms feel guilty about that. How do I, put myself first when my kids, my work, my job, maybe elderly parents, but we have to fill our own cup first. And it doesn't mean you have to run a Boston Marathon, but 10 minutes of your day being really intentional with your movement, really taking the time to breathe and be in your body, that's gonna pay you back 1,000 times if you're consistent and do it every day. Then, feeling maybe guilty that you didn't move your body, and then burning yourself out at the gym on the weekend, and then suffering from injury or having to take that step back. I see it all the time, and it's preventable. We just need those pockets of time. We've talked about this so much as moms. We need to utilize our pockets of time, because we have them.
Yes.
And be intentional to do something that fills your cup, whether it's movement, whether it's connecting with people that make you feel good, whether it's making a healthy meal that you get to enjoy, not just rushing and making your kids great lunches and then you're just grabbing.
Exactly, exactly. You know, you raised a point, and you know, I went through menopause. I'm older than you girls, but I went through menopause at 39. Perimenopause and menopause, and what this whole struggle through midlife is a real thing, and it's having a moment in the media right now, which is long overdue, but we'll take it. One of the things I loved what you said, Tatianna, was that, you know, filling our cup, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to go pound at the gym and then be burnt out. Our bodies, especially in midlife, that can actually work against us. One of our PHAMCASTers, our fellow PHAMCASTers, who's also another proud registered massage therapist, she's going to be at the launch event in Canada on February 2nd. Her name is Leanne Monahan. Many of you might have heard of this program called 75 Hard, and it's all about driving hard and consistency. And don't get me wrong, being consistent you mentioned, and being, you know, deliberate and intentional and creating habits, all of those things are good. But not every stage of life, that is the way we should be in that cortisol overdrive all the time. And so she's recoining 75 Easy and really talking about stacking habits like that and listening to our bodies. And that's what this whole thing is about, what we're talking about, isn't it, Renee? Like, it's really important that we start to listen to our bodies in that way, especially at this stage of life.
Absolutely, because our bodies are always listening. We just need to get still and quiet to hear the whispers before the body's screaming at us.
Absolutely. You know, I always talk about this thing that I've coined called the opportunity gap. You know, we're healthy here and we're sick here. And in our current system, we literally wait until you hit this threshold. You've got a blood pressure that's this. You've got blood work that says that. Your A1C is X. And then we get into action, reactionary. But in here, this beautiful, awesome space in between that I refer to as the opportunity gap is what preventative health movement is all about. Getting people into action at every stage of life in this opportunity gap to listen, to acknowledge, to honor, and then to act. And that's what's so cool about this. Prevention can be cool, can't it, ladies?
It's very cool.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
saves you.
It does save you, but that's not been our system, our mindset, our culture, so we have to rewire. You know, we had a conversation a few weeks ago that you were talking about some of, you know, business coaching that you were having, and you were so excited when Renee connected us.
Yes.
You were like, oh my gosh, somebody talking about prevention. You said something to me and it really landed, because you said that you had a business coach say to you, what?
No one's gonna buy a solution to a problem they don't have yet. And it broke my heart, because I really, I am a physiotherapist, but I'm also an online women's coach. My program is called the Move With Ease Method. And I loved my business coaches, I've had several, but there was something that was always underlying my messaging, which was, Tatianna, no one's gonna buy that because it's a problem they don't have yet. And I was like, it just doesn't sit with me. I wanna start young, I want women to feel good, not wait till they're in aches and pains, and then, you know, it's not that you can't
Of course.
recover and heal and rehab, but why don't we start before that happens?
And why aren't we having our young daughters and prevention? And well, we're here to say, actually, people will buy that. They are. And that's why the preventative health movement since its inception till now is growing in leaps and bounds, is getting attention. Municipalities are paying attention. People want to live with health span, not just lifespan, but it takes getting into action to do that. So we're shifting mindsets. One person at a time, one doctor at a time, one municipality at a time, one change maker at a time, because of conversations like this. So stay tuned, because we're coming back with these two awesome women. We got so much more to talk about. We're going to stock your toolbox with actually some strategies that you can do with your nervous system, that you can do with your breath. It doesn't cost money, but it has massive impact in helping you become the CEO of your health. So stay tuned. We'll be back with Renee and Tatianna, my cherished ambassadors, real soon.